Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Vishram Stapithamina Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamaryam Dadati Swapadam Tikram Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Paraparam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsa Shri Sagrajatam Sahagama Gadagatam Vitam Tam Sanjivam Sadvetam Sarvatam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakamavitam Cham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Radhikanta Radhakanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavameshwari Vishwavanusute Devi Pranami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarudasya Kripas Sindhubhyaeva Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Swagatam, Suspagatam. So, Srimad Bhagavatam. Tout le monde parle anglais, français? Y a-t-il des gens qui ne parlent pas du tout anglais? Ok. Good. Parlez pas anglais, d'accord. Je ferai donc les deux. Donc, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 24, Matasia, the Lord's Fish Incarnation, verse 24, 38, no? 38. Yeah. I don't see much. Madhyam Mahimanam Cha Madhyam Mahimanam Cha Param Brahma Iti Shabditam Param Brahmeti Shabditam Vetsyasi sorry Anugrihitam Me Vetsasyanugrihitam me Samprashne Vivritam Ridi Samprashne Vivritam Ridi Madhyam Mahimanam Sa Param Brahmeti Shabditam Vetsyasya Nugrihitam me Hanugri Samprashne Vivritam Ridi Madhyam Mahimanam Cha Param Brahma Shabditam Vetsyasya Nugrihitam me Samprashne Vivritam Ridi. Please.
Madhyam Mahimanam Cha Param Brahmeti Shabditam Vetyasi Anugrihitam me Samprashnai Vivritam Ridi Madhyam Mahimanam Cha Brahmeti Shabditam Vetyasi Anugrihitam me.
Vesasyanu me.
Samprasne vivitam hidi.
Samprasne vivitam hidi.
Madhyam Maimanam Cha
Mahimanam cha
Param Brahmiti Shabditam
Param Brahmeti Shabditam.
Vichasyanugrhitam me
Vesasyanu me.
Samprasne Vivritam Hridi
Samprasne vivitam hidi.
Matajis.
Madhyam Maimanam Cha
Mahinam Mahimanam cha
Param Brahmiti Shabditam
Param Brahmeti Shabditam
Vichasyanugrhitam me
Vesyasyanugrihitam me
Samprasne Vivritam Hidi.
Samprashne Vivritam Vidi. Madhyam, pertaining to me. Mahimanam, glorious. Cha, and Param Brahma, the Supreme Brahman, the Absolute Truth. Iti, thus. Shabditam, celebrated. Vetsyasi, you shall understand. Anugrihitam, being favored. Me, by me. Samprashne, by inquiries. Vivritam, thoroughly explained. Ridi, within the heart. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. You will be thoroughly advised and favored by me, and because of your inquiries, everything about my glories, which are known as Param Brahma, will be manifest within your heart. Thus, you will know everything about me. Purport. As stated in the Gita 15:15, Sarasya Chaham Ridi Sanivishto Matasmritir Gyanam Aponam Cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, is situated in everyone's heart, and from him come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The Lord reveals himself in proportion to one's surrender to him. Yayatamam prapadyante tam sativa bhajamyaham. In responsive cooperation, the Lord reveals himself in proportion to one's surrender. That which is revealed to one who fully surrenders is different from what is revealed to one who surrenders partially. Everyone naturally surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either directly or indirectly. The conditioned soul surrenders to the laws of nature in material existence, but when one fully surrenders to the laws of nature, but one fully surrenders to the Lord, material nature doesn't act upon him. Such a fully surrendered soul is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. Mamivaye prapadyante, mayamitam tarantite. One who has fully surrendered to the Lord has no fear of the modes of material nature, for everything is but an expansion of the Lord's glories. Sarvam Kalvinam Brahma. And these glories are gradually revealed and realized. The Lord is the Supreme Purifier, Param Brahma Paramdam Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. The more one is purified and the more he wants to know about the Supreme, the more the Lord reveals to him. Full knowledge of Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan is revealed to the pure devotees. The Lord says in the Gita 10:11, Tesham evanukam paratam maham agyanajam tamaha
Nashamatma Bhavasto Yanadipina Bhajvata. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Hare Krishna. So, this is Matasia avatar, and as you have heard from the beginning of the chapter, there's two Matasia, just like there are two Varahadev. There's two Matasia. We're talking about the second here. The first one was way back during the... actually, Shakshush is the second one. At the end of the previous Kalpa, long back, previous day of Brahma, when the Kalpa was about to end, one demon came, Ayagriv, and he stole the Vedas from Brahma. So the Lord at that time appeared first time at Matasya avatar, and he rescued the Vedas and gave it back to Brahma. But here we are talking about the second manifestation of Matasya in the Shakshush Monvanta, which is, which number? 6. Very good. So the previous one, we are in the 7th one, Vivajvat, Manu. And so what happened there is Shakshush Monvanta, apparently, as explained in the previous verse yesterday, I guess you did it, there was during the day of Brahma, it was not meant to be annihilation. By the grace of the Lord, a tiny annihilation occurred during the day. And what happened? For the sake of gracing, bestowing mercy upon this great devotee, Satyavrata Muni. Who is Satyavrata Muni? Every year we sing for Kartik. Mama Mejvaram Sachi. This song was composed by Satyavrata Muni. So you can well imagine his consciousness. So he was a king and he rescued this tiny little fish out of benevolent nature, out of his benevolent nature. He didn't know at first that this little fish was the Lord. But finally, as he expands inside, he got to know, yes, it cannot be only but Lord Krishna himself. So, and then this Satyavrata Muni, he gave shelter to the Lord, even though it's meant to be the other way around, but he gave shelter. This is one rasa of devotee with the Lord. He wants to give shelter to the Lord, sometime in Vatsalya Prem. So he gave shelter, and finally the Lord reveals himself to him. And he told him, be careful. Yes?
Il y a des personnes, je pense, qui ne comprennent pas le français. Est-ce qu'on peut faire une...
Ouais, vas-y, Prabhu, vas-y. Oh, ouais, j'ai oublié de traduire, vas-y.
Mais quelqu'un peut organiser, parce qu'il y a une ou deux personnes.
Oui, bah, ça m'évitera de traduire. Si je traduis, ça va ralentir le flow. Sundar, Prabhu? Ou peut-être Revatinandan ou...
C'est pas une Mataji, c'est que des
Ah, remarquez, une Mataji peut le faire, ouais, c'est vrai. Ok. Peut-être Susanna, vous voulez traduire? Vous pouvez pas pouvoir? Ok, so then I'll do it. Who? Chitralina. Okay, great. Thank you, Chitralina. Merci. So basically, this Satyavrata Muni will become, so he was told by the Lord, be careful, within a week there's going to be an annihilation. Pralaya. So don't worry, I'll come around with a boat and I will rescue you, and all the one species of life, one sample of species of life will have to board we'll have to board the boat. And you please make sure that all the species can climb on board. So this particular Satyavrata Muni will be blessed by the Lord, and he will become Shraddhadev. So Vivajvan Manave Praha is going to become the next Manu. So he was king during Shakshush Manu, now he's going to become Vivajvata Manu, our Manu. His name is Shraddhadev.
So this is the mercy got from the Lord. So today it's a quite interesting topic I found, verse 38. I think it's dealing with the different degrees of reciprocation from the Lord according to one's surrender. I think that's the topic at hand. And we can see that times and times again in the Shastra. Especially it occurs to me in the story of Sudama Vipra, remember? Sudama Vipra, he came to Dwarka to beseech the mercy of the Lord. And actually the Lord became embarrassed. Remember? He became embarrassed because Krishna gives proportionately to one's surrender, but he had to beg for the cheap price. So it's quite paradoxical. On one side is giving, according to one's surrender, we know. But on the other side, especially with Sudama, he had to beg to get the cheap price. So isn't that paradoxical? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has to beg for the cheap price. So, according to mathematical formula, it's proportional, but according to Bhav Bhakti, it's not proportional. We can see that. According to mathematical formulas, it's not proportional, sorry. And according to Bhav, it is proportional. Let's take the example of Sudama Vipra. He didn't want to give the cheap price. Remember? He came, even though his wife had pleaded to him, please go, we are so poor, try to get something. And but he was so adamant in hiding his real purpose. Actually, he didn't want even think to share, to ask for his purpose, to start with. But the Lord was so benevolent towards him, that was his roommate, his classmate from school time, that he blessed him. And he asked him, by the way, did you bring anything, by the way, for me? So he had to beg for the cheap price. And when he got the cheap price, he took one bite. Remember the details? He took one bite. And that was it already. One bite taken by Lord Krishna, you become more powerful, more wealthy than Indra. Then he took second bite. And then, who came in the picture? He was about to take the third bite. Lakshmi came. She was there. Rukmini is there. Rukmini is Lord Mahalakshmi. And she stopped Krishna. She caught his hand. She said, no, you cannot take a third bite. If you do, I won't be able to reciprocate. It's beyond me. 2 bites I can hardly assume. I can hardly deal with. Third bite, no way. So Krishna is stopped. So, and when he came back, remember Sudama Vipra came back home, totally, he hadn't even asked his boon, which was actually propelled by his wife, triggered by his wife, as usual. And basically, remember what happened? When he got on the scene, he couldn't even remember. He couldn't even fathom the place. Totally transformed. It's mentioned there by Jiva Goswami that actually, because he had a tiny trace of remaining poor. Sometimes as devotee we may hold on to that. I'm poor, Prabhu. I'm supposed to be poor. I'm going to remain poor. And that was a little unearthed, according to Jiva Goswami. So Lord Krishna blessed him. It's mentioned more than in today. The reciprocation was beyond, in terms of wealth, beyond Indra. So we can see, and this is the topic of today. Krishna is, as we know, Krishna reciprocates with that mood of surrender. Definitely. We give, even if we give ourselves, and it is so small, just like the tiny squirrel during Ram Lila, remember they're building the bridge. Tiny, small service. But because the Lord is infinite, His reciprocation is also infinite. Whatever small your service is, if your reciprocation, if your surrender is real and pure, whichever small the amount of service is, he takes the bhav, bhavagrahi janardhan. He takes the bhav. Then his reciprocation is enormous, infinite, because himself is infinite. So, just like the gopis, napalayeham, we say. Ramyakachit upasana Vrajavadu Vargina Vakalpita. This Vrajavadu, this Vargana, this group of Vrajavadu, the gopis of Vraj, is the most pleasing Ramyakachit types of worship, according to Mahaprabhu. Naparayaham means Krishna told them in the dead of the night, I'm sorry, I cannot reciprocate. I'm bankrupt. I'm sold out. I cannot reciprocate. You have to live off your own love. You have to feed yourself on your love. I'm feeding myself on your love. You feed also yourself on your love. It is so exquisite. I cannot match. This is obviously the topmost type of surrender. So, yes, we know from Gita 240, Bau Shaka Yanantasha Buddhayu Vyavasayinam, that Vyavasyatnika Buddhi Ekya Kuronana, if we are Ek Nishta, yes, it's going to work. But as soon as we become Bahu Nishta, diluted in our purpose, in our intent, then the result will be displayed also. So we have to be careful that we don't, especially with age, we don't splay, we don't, like we say in English, don't spread yourself too thin. That's an expression. Don't spread yourself too thin. So thin, there's nothing left on the piece of bread. There's no butter left. There's no jam left. Because you spread yourself too thin. You know? So we have to make sure that, especially with age as we go older and we're getting closer to death, that we focus back on the goal to be attained, Krishna Prem. So then Krishna always reveals himself. We cannot say Krishna doesn't reveal himself. He's neutral in his reciprocation, but his reciprocation differs in size. You understand the subtlety? You can be neutral, but still reciprocate differently from one another. It doesn't mean because you are neutral that you have to reciprocate equally with everyone, with one another. Krishna is like that. He's neutral, but he reciprocates differently, according to one surrender. So we cannot blame Krishna. Just like the story I mentioned the other day. One devotee complained to Srila Prabhupada, you give more mercy to Tamal. In those days it was not Maharaj. You give more mercy to Tamal. Krishna. And what did Prabhupada say? What did he say?
He's taking more.
He's taking more. He's got his loriam, just like you throw bread to the ducks. One duck is going to come out and try to grab the bread from you practically. He's eager. So naturally, unconsciously, you tend to give more bread to that duck. You cannot blame yourself. It's human nature. So the verse is there, Nayamatma Pravachanena, Nayamatma Pravachanena, Nabedaya, Nabahuna Shrutena, Yame Vesha Vinute Tenalabhyas, thank you. Tasyesha Atma, Vivinute Tanum Swam. Upanishad says that. We cannot conquer the Lord by brain power, by lots of hearing even. No. He remains concealed. He condescends. In English we say condescends, en français aussi, condescendre. He condescends to reveal himself. If you say condescend for anyone, for a mortal man, it's puffed up. Je condescends. I condescend to reveal myself to you. It's quite puffed up. It's arrogance. But for the Lord, it's okay. He condescends to, otherwise it remains hidden, concealed. But it's up to him, tanum swam, his own form will be revealed by him. If he deems fit to do so, he will do so. He's got the prerogative. We always have to understand. He's got the Naham Prakasha Savasya, Yogamaya Samavitaha. He reveals himself the right to remain concealed. We cannot crash gate yourself into the bhakti, and by dint of your bhakti, I'm going to make him surrender. I'm going to make him surrender to me. He has to reciprocate. It doesn't work. Even with bhakti. Bhakti is the key. Bhakti mama bijanati. But still, the onus is on his part. We cannot conceive that because of my bhakti only, I will make him reciprocate. No. Even that is another trick of Maya, figment of the mind. So, Buddhism Prabhu used to give a beautiful example. It's like a palatial surrounding. If you are a king, you let the citizens hang out in the surroundings of the palace, but you won't let them in the inner quarters of the palace. You reserve yourself the right to keep those inner quarters confidential. You won't let the citizen come in your inner quarters. Why? Why? Because if you do so, citizens will lose respect towards you, and you won't be able to govern them. So that is why there's a filtering process. We cannot deny. Just can you imagine to be part of Krishna's entourage in Braj, or Mahaprabhu's entourage in Navadvip? There's a screening process, obviously. There's a screening process. To become the nanny of Krishna, to become the butler, there's a screening process. But sometimes the Lord's reciprocation is so amazing. Aho bakiyam, stana kalakutam, jigam shayapya sadvi, lebegaditum. Remember Uddhav is telling, disputana. Can you imagine? This is like mind-boggling. She's Kalkut on her breast to kill Krishna. I mean, difficult to be more practical. It's unfavorable bhakti. Practical bhakti. Kalkut on the breast. Kalkut means nag, venom. I mean, I've seen in India, king cobra. King cobra can kill an elephant. Have you seen a king cobra?
Very dangerous.
King cobra is not a regular cobra. It's 5 meters. The size is my arm. I've got small arm, I know. Let's say, I mean, a regular arm. It can kill an elephant. The venom of a king cobra. What to speak of a human being? She had smeared her breast with Kalkut. And Uddhav is saying, how can we find someone more merciful than he? He has given the position of a datri. Datri means nurse in the spiritual world to her. So, yes, it's a matter of sincerity, but why we want to be sincere and pure and non-envious? Because we want to be trustworthy. This is the point. Trustworthiness. Like we can see Srila Prabhupada struggled all his life for the sake of spreading Krishna consciousness. 30 years, 40 years in a row. He got the instruction in 22. He succeeded in 67. 66 was still struggling big time. 67 gradually. So you can see 22, 67 is talking about 40 years, 45 years. 45 years. Can we say that the attempt of Prabhupada was less, can we say it was less Krishna conscious during those years of ordeal, of trials? No. But what the difference is, he became trustworthy. And then look at the reciprocation of Lord Krishna. Even Prabhupada used to say, between 66 and 69, he said, even I didn't expect that. Hayagriva Prabhu has written that book, Hare Krishna Explosion. He said, I didn't expect that. It's beyond my purview. Prabhupada said, early days, devotees were flocking inside movement. So we can see it's a matter of trustworthiness. When you become trustworthy, just like in the material world, you become trustworthy to the CEO, trustworthy to the president, trustworthy to a big gun, a big person. Then practically the story is over because you have become trustworthy. So sincerity is not just a vague concept for the sake, oh, it's written, I got to be sincere. No, it's because what it means to tread in within the inner circle, it's a matter of trustworthiness. Trustworthiness, vous pouvez traduire, ça veut dire digne de confiance. Merci, Prabhu. Okay, so I would like to discuss about another point. Yes, we have 5-10 minutes. The acharyas on this verse, Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they bring forward some good points in regard to Brahmagyan, because you can see here Param Brahma is written. Can you see? Param Brahma means the supreme absolute truth. It means also Brahman. So the point that they're making is that there's a difference between mercy of the Lord to get Brahman realized and mercy of the Lord to become Krishna conscious. Both takes mercy. Even to become Brahman realized, it takes mercy also. Actually, the Acharya has mentioned that because Satyavrat Muni was, remember, he was inside the boat already. And he's surrounded by whom? Who is inside the boat? Remember?
The sages.
Yes, very good. The patriarchs, the Saptarishis. I mean, you can imagine, they are Maharishis. Akatsya, Jamadagni, Bharadwaj. I mean, they're so powerful, they have their own planets. Just imagine the acumen of those persons. So because he was hanging out on the boat, remember he stayed, how long did he stay in the boat? Any idea? How long did he stay in the boat? How long are they going to stay in the boat? The night of Brahma.
One night.
4,320,000,000 years. That's a long journey. That's a long voyage. So because he was hanging out with them on the boat, he had this desire to become Param Brahma, to get Brahmagyan. Knowledge of Brahman. So Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they explain about that by quoting this verse. First of all, they say that the level of Krishna Katha, when we hear Krishna Katha, like we are doing now, we are doing Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha is, by definition, nirgun. It's always beyond the modes. Even if you yourself are within the mode, the activity itself is totally nirgun. What is the verse? Kapil Dev, 3:25-25. Satamba Sangam Mama Virya Sombido Ritkana Kritra Sayana Kataha Tajoshanat Ajvapagavat Mani Shraddha Bhaktir Ratir Anukrami Shyati. Thank you, Prabhu. So Kapil Dev is saying this Krishna Katha is virya. Virya means power. It gives virya. Satam Prasangam. It has to be, of course, within the Sangam of devotees, obviously. If you are in your room by yourself, better than nothing, definitely. But it takes full power within. Satan prasanga mama virya samvido. And Rit Kanakrit, when it enters Rit, the heart, from the ear, karna, within the heart, Rit Kanakrit rasayana kataha. It acts as an elixir, as nectar, as just like in, the Ayurveda, it's rasayan. Rasayan means elixir. Amrit. So this Krishna Katha is Amrit. It's like an elixir de jouvence. And then Shraddha Bhakti Ratir Anukramishati. Anukramishati means sequentially is going to give you Shraddha, but Bhakti Rati means your Bhakti becomes dense, not diluted, dense. So this is one of the side effects of Krishna Katha. So the Acharyas here say that Krishna Katha is Nirgun. Now let's go back to the point I was going to make before I finish. The difference between the mercy that it takes to become Brahman realized and the mercy that it takes to become Krishna conscious realized. So Jiva Goswami and Vijayanath Chakravarti Thakur explain there's two types of Brahman knowledge. One kind is the knowledge attained by the Lord's devotees. It comes from the Lord's mercy. What is the verse in the Gita that says that the Lord gives His mercy? Actually, it's quoted today, in the purport. Yes, this one is good, yes. And it starts off from Tesham Tatata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. If you have Priti Purvakam, love, prem, then Krishna is going to give you buddhi. Buddhi means even if you have no brain materially, you get buddhi. You go back to Godhead. So this is the mercy of the devotee, the mercy of the Lord that He gives to the devotees. It comes independently. Thank you, Prabhu. It comes independently without the Lord's direct mercy. It comes on its own. Actually, it's granted by the Lord. So this is the difference between Brahmagyan and Krishna consciousness. So the Acharyas mention Mahimanam, I think it's written there. Mahimanam means opulence that has no variety. That was the intent of Satyavrat Muni on the boat. He wanted Brahmagyan. He wanted to become Brahman realized. But what happened on the boat? Because he was hanging out with those Saptarishis, he's going to hear Krishna Katha. Can you imagine for 4 billion years Krishna Katha? So at the end of the day, he got the mercy of the Lord as a devotee. Even though his intent was Brahman realized. This is the thing. So I'll stop here, perhaps a few words on, I didn't prepare, I forgot about those two great stalwart acharyas. Mahesh Pandit was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, and he was a great pujari in Vrindavan. When you go to Jaipur, you can see he's got a coat made of tulsi. Have you seen that coat? It's tulsi wood. It's enmeshed, intertwined as a coat, and it's made of tulsi wood. I've seen it. Udaran Dat Thakur, I guess I have to hear from you, because I didn't prepare. I'm sorry about that. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. If you have any... Merci, Shakshush Shalila. Merci beaucoup. Yes, Prabhu.
It's the word condescending.
Yeah.
Because I heard... now, as you said, now it's like a puffed up thing to say.
Definitely.
But I heard Ravindra Swarup give the history of the word.
Okay.
Because before it used to be a positive thing, the way that the king or queen would reciprocate to its subjects.
Okay.
So it used to be a nice word.
Okay.
The relationship between, say, the king and the subject. The king was condescending in such a nice way.
I see. Okay.
Showing his mercy to the subject.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
That's what I heard.
No, it's a beautiful point.
More, it may have more meanings than.
But it makes sense because coming from the Lord, it's accepted as the Lord, and obviously coming from a Raja Rishi, in the days of yore, they were Raja Rishis, the king. So
You can read in Shakespeare.
yeah, it's thank you for that little nuance.
I heard from Ravindra.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Thank you, Prabhu. Anything else, Jyoti Prabhu?
As a comment about, because it's interesting because when you mention Putana and Krishna taking the poison, it's in the shloka that Pundarik Vijayadi went to ecstasy.
Yeah, definitely.
So
This is one of the verses. Yeah.
yes.
It's also one of the verses that that Srila Vyasadeva, remember his wife Jabali was pregnant. The boy didn't want to come out. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years. I think 12 years or 16 years.
60.
He stayed in there. And he came out. And what happened when he came out? He walked out. He hit the road. And no, it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, not even purificatory rites. You know, like if you're a father, you want to give purificatory rites to your son. He walks out. So Vyasadeva is Chakara Bhagavan Rishi, he's okay, he's God, or at least an expansion, but he's crying for his son. And only the trees echoed to his plea. Only the trees responded to his crying. So what happened there? Vyasadeva is quite smart. He told his disciples, you go in the forest and you recite some choicest shlokas. And one was that also. So what happened is very interesting there. There was a separation. There were two Shukadeva Goswami. One Shukadeva Goswami carried on towards Shukatal. He walked that famous spot where he delivered Srimad Bhagavatam. Another Shukadeva Goswami retraced his steps back to the ashram of his father. He became Grihastha, this Shukadeva. But we know about the other one. We know about the sannyas Shukadeva. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, have a good day. Yes, Prabhu?
Udarananda Thakur.
Yes, please.
He has a nice temple on the way from Calcutta to Mayapur.
Okay.
And one devotee took me there last year.
Okay.
Just before the COVID broke.
Okay.
And there I was able to hear about Udarananda Thakur. And Prabhupada writes about him.
Yeah.
Prabhupada actually, his family has some connection with Udarananda Thakur.
The family of Srila Prabhupada?
Yes.
Wow.
They.
They, yeah.
And so Prabhupada wrote a nice purport about him. He said he was he's like the patron saint of the Vaishyas,
Okay.
the gold merchants. And he was one of the 12 principal associates of Lord Nityananda Prabhu.
Okay.
They were Dwadasa Gopal.
Dwadasha Gopal, yeah.
And at his so Prabhupada was aware of this connection, in India too. People want to know your Gotra, your family lineage. Prabhupada was aware of it, that his family is connected to Udarananda Thakur, one of the chief associates of Nityananda Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
And this, when I went there at his temple, it was very nice. They told me one pastime, Nityananda Prabhu would come there and spend sometimes 2 or 3 months at a time at his house.
Wow.
But he was not an ordinary person.
Of course. Dwadasha Gopal.
Yeah. And in the back, you could see the courtyard of the temple, there was a tree there, and they barricaded the tree. It's a flower tree, it gives flowers. And there's a story behind that when Nityananda Prabhu was visiting there, Udarananda Thakur prepared prasadam to feed him. And there were some Brahmins around also. They came because Nityananda Prabhu, he was preaching all over Bengal. And they wanted to see him. So when they were there, Udarananda Thakur said, prasadam is ready now. And he invited the Brahmins to take prasadam with Nityananda Prabhu. But these Brahmins were so puffed up. They said, they thought Udarananda Thakur was from a lower caste.
Oh, that's
So we cannot eat his food.
Mahapapa.
Yeah. And Nityananda Prabhu, he got up and he went and he took this wooden spoon out of the pot and he dug it into the ground and the tree grew from that spoon.
Wow.
And that tree is there.
Oh, amazing.
When the Brahmins saw that, they said, we will take prasadam.
Amazing story.
But he's a very important person.
Yes.
All of them. Some of them Kaviraj Goswami described more about. Prabhupada took the time to write something about Udarananda Thakur.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Gaur Premanande.
Grace, Madhavendra, Puri ki.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Some others,